Good morning, boys and girls. Today I'm going to read a classic story written by the same lady who wrote, same author who wrote The Little House, the one about the little house that had the city grow up all around it, and then they moved it back out into the country. And you all enjoyed that so much, I thought I would read another one of her famous books. Her name is Virginia Lee Burton, and she lived quite a long time ago. She wrote her books, I believe, in the 1930s. Let's go look and see. All right, the book we're going to read today is Mike Mulligan and His Steam Shovel. Here's the book, and it's by Virginia Lee Burton. And so when you go to look, I'm sitting outside, so you might see a bug or two. When you go to find when something was written, look, there's Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel. You want to look on this inside page, and if you see way here, it says copyright 1939. So that was a very long time ago, right? And then they renewed it, and the newer one was made in 1967. But if you want to see when it was first done, you look at the oldest number, and that lets you know. This is to Mike. So I don't know if she had a friend or child named Mike, but it seems like it. All right. Mike Mulligan had a steam shovel, a beautiful red steam shovel. Her name was Mary Ann. Mike Mulligan was very proud of Mary Ann. He always said that she could dig as much in a day as 100 men could dig in a week. But he had never been quite sure that this was true. Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann had been digging together for years and years. Mike Mulligan took such good care of Mary Ann that she never grew old. You see her down in there? She's digging a big hole. It was like Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others. It was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who dug the great canals for the big boats to sail through. Wow. It was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who cut through the high mountains so that trains could go through. Look at that. That's a lot of deep digging. It was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who lowered the hills and straightened the curves to make long highways for the automobiles, or cars as we call them, right? It was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who smoothed out the ground and filled in the holes to make landing fields for the airplanes. So if you think about it, they've gone from water to train to road to plane. Those are all our modern forms of transportation, the ways we get around. And it was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who dug the deep holes for cellars of the tall skyscrapers in the big cities. When people used to stop and watch them, Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann used to dig a little faster. You see them there? They're right here. Look at all the people watching. And a little better. The more people stopped, the faster and better they dug. Some days they would keep as many as 37 trucks busy taking away the dirt they had dug. Then along came the new gasoline shovels and the new electric shovels and the new diesel motor shovels and took all the jobs away from the steam shovels. You know how our shovels work today? Gasoline normally, maybe diesel. Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann were very sad. Oh, can you boys and girls see? Oh, there they are, look. Mary Ann looks like she's crying, doesn't she? And it says, you see what the sign says? No steam shovels wanted. All of the other steam shovels were being sold for junk or left out in the gravel pits to rust and fall apart. Mike loved Mary Ann. He couldn't do that to her. He had taken such good care of her that she could still dig as much in a day as 100 men could dig in a week. At least he thought she could, but he wasn't quite sure. Everywhere they went, the new gas shovels and the new electric shovels and the new diesel motor shovels had all the jobs. No one wanted Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann anymore. Then one day, Mike read in the newspaper that the town of Popperville was going to build a new town hall. "We are going to dig the cellar of that town hall," said Mike to Mary Ann, and off they started. Oh, I think he's trying to get a job for them. They left the canals and the railways and the highways and the airports and the big cities where no one wanted them anymore, and they went out into the country. Reminds us a little bit of our book, The Big House, because they were out in the country too. They crawled along slowly up the hills and down the hills till they came to the little town of Popperville. When they got there, oh, there they are. There's Mary Ann and Mike. Do you see her name's on her, Mary Ann. And there's all the townsfolk. When they got there, they found that the selectmen, that's like the councilmen or the people who serve on the town council, were just deciding who should dig the cellar for the new town hall. Mike Mulligan spoke to Henry B. Swap, one of the selectmen. "I heard," he said, "that you were going to build a new town hall. Mary Ann and I will dig the cellar for you in just one day." Oh, look who came by to listen to our story. They like to listen to our stories, don't they? Yes, they do. All right, he said, "Mary Ann and I will dig the cellar for you in just one day." And you will kind of hear her sheep munching away over there because they just eat grass all day. "What?" said Henry B. Swap. "Dig a cellar in a day? It would take 100 men at least a week to dig the cellar for our new town hall." "Sure," said Mike, "but Mary Ann can dig as much in a day as 100 men can dig in a week." Though he had never been quite sure that this was true. Then he added, "If we can't do it, then you won't have to pay." Henry B. Swap thought that this would be an easy way to get part of the cellar dug for nothing. So he smiled in a rather mean way and gave the job of digging the cellar of the new town hall to Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. They started in the early morning just as the sun was coming up. Soon a little boy came along. "Do you think you will finish by sundown?" he said to Mike Mulligan. "Sure," said Mike, "if you stay and watch us. We always work faster and better when someone is watching us." And here's the little boy, he came running along. So the little boy stayed to watch. Then Mr. McGillicuddy, Henry B. Swap, and the town constable came over to see what was happening. And they stayed to watch. Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann dug a little faster and a little better. This gave the boy a good idea. He ran off and told the postman with the morning mail, the telegraph boy and on his bicycle, and the milkman with his cart and horse, the doctor on his way home, and the farmer and his family coming into town for the day. And they all stopped and stayed to watch. Look, there's the telegraph boy and the mailman. They all came They all stopped and stayed to watch. That made Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann dig a little faster and a little better. They finished the first corner neat and square, but the sun was getting higher. Look, she made a smiley face on her son. Clang, clang, clang! The fire department arrived. They had seen the smoke and thought there was a fire. Then the little boy said, "Why don't you stay and watch?" So the fire department of Popperville stayed to watch Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. When they heard the fire engine, the children in the school across the street couldn't keep their eyes on their lessons. The teacher called a long recess, and the whole school came out to watch Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. That made Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann dig still faster and still better. They finished the second corner neat and square, but the sun was right up in the top of the sky. Now the girl who answers the telephone called up the next town of Bangerville and Bopperville and Kipperville and Copperville and told them what was happening in Popperville. All the people came over to see if Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel could dig a cellar in just one day. Look at everybody. Everybody's watching now. The more people came, the faster Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann dug. But they would have to hurry. They were only halfway through, and the sun was beginning to go down. They finished the third corner, neat and square. Remember, boys and girls, how many corners does a square have? We have one, 2, and they finished number 3. All right. Do you know how many squares? 4 squares, right? Never had Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann had so many people to watch them. Never had they dug so fast and so well, and never had the sun seemed to go down so fast. "Hurry, Mike Mulligan, hurry!" shouted the little boy. He's been there all day, hasn't he? "There's not much time." Dirt was flying everywhere, and the smoke and steam were so thick that the people could hardly see anything. But listen, bang, bang, crash, slam, louder and louder, faster and faster. Then suddenly it was quiet. Slowly the dirt settled down, the smoke and steam cleared away, and there was the cellar all finished. Look at that. Look, how many corners do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 corners, because the square has 4 corners. But I want you to look and see if you can figure out, I think there's a little problem. 4 corners neat and square, 4 walls straight and down. And Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann at the bottom. And the sun was just going down behind the hill. "Hooray!" shouted the people. "Hooray for Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel. They have dug the cellar in just one day." Suddenly the little boy said, "How are you?" Here's the little boy. There he is. Look at his face. His doggy's with him. Look, everybody's kind of passing it on and whispering and looking and going. Look at her face. Oh no, right? Wow. Okay, here's Mike Mulligan. Mike Mulligan, dig anything, anytime, any place. And there's, oh, look at Mary Ann's face. She's like, oh no. Suddenly the little boy said, "How are they going to get out?" "That's right," said Mrs. McGillicuddy to Henry B. Swap. "How is he going to get his steam shovel out?" Henry B. Swap didn't answer, but he smiled in rather a mean way. Then everybody said, "How are they going to get out? If Mike Mulligan... Oh, how are they going to get out? Hi, Mike Mulligan, how are you going to get your steam shovel out?" Mike Mulligan looked around at the 4 square walls and the 4 square corners, and he said, "We've dug so fast and we've dug so well that we've quite forgotten to leave a way out." Nothing like this had ever happened to Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann before, and they didn't know what to do. Look at all the people. They're all talking about it. Can you see them? Nothing like this had ever happened before in Popperville. Everybody started talking at once, and everybody had a different idea, and everybody thought that his idea was the best. They talked, and they talked, and they argued, and they fought till they were worn out, and still no one knew how to get Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann out of the cellar they had dug. Then Henry B. Swap said, "The job isn't finished because Mary Ann isn't out of the cellar, so Mike Mulligan won't get paid." And he smiled again in rather a mean way. Now the little boy had been keeping very quiet. He had another good idea. He said, "Why couldn't we leave Mary Ann in the cellar and build the new town hall around her? Let her be the furnace." That's how they heat the place, because she's a steam engine, so she can make heat. Let her be the furnace for the new town hall, and let Mike Mulligan be the janitor. Then you wouldn't have to buy a new furnace. We could pay Mike Mulligan for digging the cellar in just one day. "Why not?" said Henry B. Swap. All right, so even though he was kind of mean, it seems like he's gotten a little nicer there. And smiled in a way that was not quite so mean. "Why not?" said Mrs. McGillicuddy. "Why not?" said the town constable. "Why not?" said all the people. So they found a ladder and climbed down into the cellar to ask Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. "Why not?" said Mike Mulligan. So it was decided, and everybody was happy. Look at how happy Mary Ann is. They built the new town hall right over Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. Do you see them inside? There they are inside. It was finished before winter. Look, there's the smiling sun. Every day the little boy who goes over to see Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann, and Mrs. McGillicuddy takes him nice hot apple pies. As for Henry B. Swap, he spends most of his time in the cellar of the new town hall listening to the stories that Mike Mulligan has to tell and smiling in a way that isn't mean at all. So the Henry B. Swap ended up okay. Oh, let's look. Look at that. There's Mary Ann and there's Mike Mulligan. And people are coming to see them. There's Mrs. McGillicuddy with her pie and the little boy. Now, when you go to Popperville, be sure to go down in the cellar of the new town hall. There they'll be, Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann, Mike in his rocking chair smoking his pipe, and Mary Ann beside him, warming up the meetings in the new town hall. Well, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed that one. It's another really great book, and maybe it's one we'll read every year, just like we always read The Little House, because those are what they call classics, because they're just really good. I hope you enjoy your day today. Know that everyone at Immaculata loves you and is thinking and praying for you and your families. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye.